start, please. Well, welcome everybody to Harborough District Council. My name is Councillor Mike Rook, as most of you I think probably know. I'm the leader here at Harborough District Council. First things first, could you please turn your telephones off? If you haven't already thought about that one. The loos are at the back there, if you are in need during the course of the evening, and we're not expecting a fire alarm to go off, so if it does, out there, you can follow Phil Knowles, he'll be first out the door, or me and Anna through here, down those stairs there. So, as I say, we can evacuate as quick as possible and away from the building. In welcoming you, I just wanted to say a couple of things really. The year ahead is going to be both challenging and exciting for Harborough District Council, and one which I hope is going to have successful outcomes for all of you. We have got to, in this period, learn to adapt to the new localism in action, and the localisation and the situation around localisation of taxes. So there is a lot of culture change which we and you have got to take on board together. And to achieve this, we've set our vision and priorities in a way in which I hope communicates how this council hopes to work with you. More of that in a moment. Despite the economic pressures we experienced last year, we've achieved quite a lot in the district. The most popular Welland Park, of course, once again was awarded its green flag. The Harbour Innovation Centre opened its doors for business and continues to grow and prosper. We presented the freedom of the district to the Anglian Regiment, as you know, and we were graced by a march through during the course of the year, which was indeed a very great honour, and great to see the thousands who turned out to cheer that. We coped with a 16% reduction in our main funding stream, the RSG from government. We returned a 0% council tax. And we completed on the local development framework after many years fraught with eco-towns and other matters, and we are now ahead of the game as regards the planning framework. Still have work to do on that, of course, with regard to site specifics, but more of that later. We have this year the honour of having the Olympic torch come through Harborough, and I hope you will all turn out in your thousands to watch that, putting Harborough on the world stage, as indeed has the Hallerton helmet, which was opened only on Saturday, this last Saturday, in our museum here, and that again is a world heritage factor. The main thrust of our work, certainly in the first half of this year, is going to be what we're calling the transformation programme. And this is a restructuring of our staff, a look at all our assets, and an in-depth survey of the contracts, the major contracts that this council operates. By this means, we will make ourselves more fit for purpose, future-proof the council tax-raising issues that are around the overheads of running this business, and in order, and also, of course, the other beacon vision visions that we have, or aspirations we have for this coming year, centre around high-speed rural broadband and business growth in the district, because without growth we will not be able to survive, as we all know, in the present economy. We need, therefore, a strong vision, and it's very interesting that the Council, having come up with this vision, has now formed around the whole process of the transformation work under this vision. And I'll just very quickly put in your minds the vision as we have written it and as we explain it. And it reads as follows. We're going to ask you to do a little work on this perhaps later. That the residents of the Harborough district live in safe, prosperous, sustainable and self-reliant and well-informed communities where they are happy to take decisions and are empowered to take the actions that shape their own lives. That Harborough District Council is felt to support and assist residents in a cost-effective way to build the communities that they choose. And the priorities that we would put in place to make sure that these visions for the Council and for the residents, there's one for each as you see there, the priorities that we have given ourselves to work to is that by working with the communities we will develop places in which people are happy to live, to provide the right public services to the right standard and at the right price, to encourage a vibrant and sustainable business community intent on wealth creation, and to support the vulnerable in our society at the heart of the communities in which they live. And this is talking about the heart of the communities is as much within the emotional heart as the centre of is meant in that. So those are our visions and those are our priorities, and that is what this council will be working towards. There's more I could say on that, but I'm not going to. You'll be glad to hear. I'm going to hand over to our Chief Executive, Anna Graves, who is going to expand on that, and then we're going to do some breakout work in a few moments and come back to it at the end. So thank you for listening to me, and I'll hand over now to you, Anna.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me at the back. Okay. Thank you for the introduction, Mike. As Mike says, I'm Anna Graves and I'm the Chief Exec at Harborough District Council. I'm going to put a little bit of flesh onto the priorities that Mike has just outlined to you. I think you should all have a copy of the presentation on your table, so you can scribble on that as we go through. And I would advise that if things pop into your head as I'm talking, you do write them down, because unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which way you want to look at it, you've got half an hour's work to do when I finish talking, and it'll all be about what is right about these priorities, what is wrong about these priorities, what have we missed, what have we not strengthened enough, from your perspectives. And we want to capture all of that, and each of the tables will be facilitated by officers, and they'll make themselves known to you, so that we can capture your thoughts about what as a council we will focus our priorities, both resources, i.e. staff, and money. So why do we have these priorities? Because if we didn't, we wouldn't be able to deliver the vision that the council has. It would be very hard for us to make decisions about where we should spend our money and where we should stop spending money, but perhaps work in partnership and just facilitate something to happen. So it's important that we have a focus on where we put our efforts. Like any private business would do, like most of the councils do, we have to focus our energies. We haven't just picked these out of the air. They might sound a bit motherhood and apple pie, but there is something behind all of them, and I'll just explain what they are. Some of you may have been called recently. I think one gentleman said that he had been called by a company who've been doing some research for us across the council to find out what's important to the people that live in the district. So many of these priorities are built on and evidenced by what the communities have said they want to see. So if we use priority 1 as an example, this is to develop places in which to live and be happy. That sounds nice, doesn't it? People do like living in Harborough District, that's what they have said to us. So we want to be able to improve the well-being of those people who live here. What they've said to us is they want clean neighbourhoods, they want to develop green spaces, maintain safe environments, leisure and sport opportunities, and they want to be involved in decision making. Now I'm not going to go through each one of these in turn because this is the purpose of the work that you'll be doing shortly, but I want to take one as an example of how that helps us as a council focus our resources. So if we look at the clean neighbourhoods, so people want clean places in which to live and work and do their daily chores. So what does that mean as a council we will need to do? We need to make sure that we have effective reporting mechanisms. So if people see fly tipping or they see graffiti, that there is a fast and efficient way that they can report that through to the council. So that's about our telephone systems, our website systems, being very, very efficient and responsive. It also means that we need our contractors who do the work on our behalf to be able to respond to us and to be able to do it in a cost-effective way. We need to be able to look at hotspots and where there are specific problems, and we need to be able to marshal our resources to be able to focus on a particular place if there is a persistent problem. So in terms of what the community say, we want a clean place. That then translates itself into a number of actions as a council we need to make sure happen and are in place. The bottom of each of our priorities talks about who we will work with to deliver these things. So if you take the community want a clean neighbourhood, we've talked about having effective reporting systems. Parish councils will be the first point where you know where there are problems, whether they be fly tipping or constant ring banks overflowing, whatever they are. So we will work with you as parish councils and a number of other organisations to help us deliver that priority. Because at the end of the day, the communities that are saying they want clean neighbourhoods are your constituents as well. So priority 2, this is very much embodied around what Mike's referred to as the transformation programme. So for those of you at the back without bionic vision, this is to provide the right public service to the right standard to the right price. It is about Harborough Council being as efficient and using its resources to the maximum. And resources mean staff, money, assets, whatever is in the gift of the council to make more efficient. So it is about providing the best value and the best service for the constituents. And those aren't old terms. Best value sometimes has been bandied about in the past, but it's about getting what you pay for and getting it right. So if we focus on a big item, such as the community have said they want improved recycling opportunities. We already recycle very well, we're in the top 10, we have a very efficient waste collection service, but the community don't stand still and they want more. For example, plastics, wheelie bins. They've told us what they want. How do we then deliver that? So if we take improved recycling opportunities as an example, what does that mean that Harborough has to do? We have to review our waste contract and our waste policies. Are we collecting the right things? Does FOXA deliver the right price? Do we get the right income from recycling? How does all that work? So that is what we are doing already. Again, for this priority, using this as an example, who do we need to work with? Well, clearly we need to work with Fox, the contractor, because it will mean changes to the contract going forward. So what I'm hoping I'm demonstrating is that whatever we are doing does come back to what the community have said they want. We move on to the third priority. Mike mentioned this earlier as a strong priority for the council. To encourage a vibrant and sustainable business community intent on wealth creation. What have the community said they want? They want jobs created. It's not going to be in the gift of the council to create jobs. Probably the reverse, you could argue. Is it the role of the council to be creating jobs? Probably not. But what we need to be able to do as a council is enable businesses to thrive. So as a council, we need to take that back into our ways of working and ensure that we are business friendly. So what does that mean? We have a lot of regulatory services, planning enforcement, keeping the restaurants clean so that you don't feel ill once you've been out. There's a lot of regulation that a council does around businesses. What we have to do is make sure that that regulation is a supportive system, not a punitive one, unless it's required. We need to make our planning system as responsive and as open to development and opportunities as possible. These are significant changes in the way that local authorities up and down the country are being asked to work. Planning for growth, being responsive, these are all very important, and they do require Harborough, although we have gone so far, to then make another step change to make sure that the businesses here can thrive. I will also take this opportunity to talk about how the council can use its assets to help regenerate place. And you will have seen some articles in the press recently about the proposals for this building. This building is a major asset that the council owns. How can it use this asset to generate wealth for the wider community? Who do we need to work with in terms of creating wealth creation? There's a whole load of people written down there. The Chamber of Commerce being one, local businesses and traders, and we are putting mechanisms in place to work with them far more closely. Priority 4 is around supporting the vulnerable in our society. Talking to vulnerable people about what they need and aiming to meet that need. This priority of all of them is probably the one where the council is going to have to work very hard and in partnership with others, the health forums, etc. The community need to know, and what they've said to us, what the top bullet points have said, is they need to know where they go for the information and support that they need. So if we use an example, do they know where to come to get aids and adaptations for their homes so that they can stay at home living a more able life at home? Just using that as an example. So we have the Home Improvement Agency that is set up exactly to do that. So we need to be able to be communicating with these groups through the people that we've listed at the bottom, the Older People's Forum, the Citizens Panel and the County Council and Voluntary Sector, to be able to be connecting with them to make sure that our information systems to the community who need help are there and robust. That was a very quick rattle through of just one or two items within those priorities. You should have them more fully written down on the slides that you've got, but also you should have a table where we can gather your feedback. So what I'm going to suggest now, if everyone is happy to do this, we're going to have 30 minutes of discussion around the tables around what do those priorities sound like. Have a look at the things that I didn't talk about. What we're interested in is, do you think they're right? And we want you to rank them. If you think they're wrong and we're missing, we want to hear that as well. Okay? So the suggestion is that you do that now until about 7:45, so it's about half an hour. Okay? Are you all happy to do that? Yeah? Okay.
Well, I don't think that's very realistic these days, not to be doing it.
It's not realistic these days because
to expect somebody to walk 5 miles for a swim after day at school.
So, it is only the start of something, it's not the finish. You will all have very different views, because I heard quite a lot of conflicting things from the different tables, and that's fine. And it is very raw. What you've got in front of you are 4 priorities with a whole set of things underneath them, and they are very raw, and that's why we need to start this conversation and keep it going. What we're going to do with the feedback is the officers have hopefully collected as much as they can from the discussion. That will feed into the council plan, that's going through council shortly. That sets out the vision and the priorities. And then that will feed into how we sort our resourcing out internally. So I'm not planning on producing a big report and sending it back out to you, but there will be content that we're taking and building into the priorities.
Very good.
We're now going to move on to something completely different. We're going to have a series of 3 presentations. They're called snapshot presentations, to those of you who are doing them. And these are just, we're sticking to time tonight, and hopefully these will generate a lot of questions from you. So, Kamal, Deputy Chief Exec, is going to give you some feedback on New Homes Bonus, which hopefully all of you are familiar with. Stephen Pointer, not Stephen, oh there you are, is going to give a bit of feedback on neighbourhood planning. And Verena, who I have seen, is going to talk, it says for 10 minutes, on localism and the impact on standards. So can I invite Carl first? Oh, Steve's first. Sorry, Steve. See, I've got it wrong now.
Thank you. It isn't entirely different to the things we've been talking about earlier, because the planning system is moving in the direction of much more local community involvement. And those who attended an event in December would have heard me talking about the concept of neighbourhood planning that is now part of the planning framework, is introduced as part of the Localism Act. So this is my take on localism. Verena will deal with another aspect of it shortly. We, as a council, are preparing to assist local communities who would like to take up the opportunity to do their own planning. Now, of course, that's quite challenging because you have to go through a certain process. The legislation says that it has to be in conformity with a district-wide planning strategy. And I'm pleased to be able to say we do have that now. That is adopted. So we've got the basis for communities to do that. But you have to look at evidence, you have to look at the available sites for development, and you have to be prepared to make decisions locally. And you have to, at the end of the process, subject them to a community referendum. And that is a part of the planning process that even the district council doesn't have to engage with at present. So it means that a local neighbourhood plan needs to have the consent of at least 50% of those voting in a referendum. We sent you and we provided some information at the event in December, and we asked you to, as parishes, as local councils, to go away and think about whether you were interested in engaging in this process and informing us by the end of February. So this is a little reminder for those who haven't perhaps taken it through parish councils yet. You're under no obligation, of course, to do a neighbourhood plan. It is, the more we understand of it, and the more you understand of it, you'll probably find it quite challenging. But it is a process that allows local people to make local decisions on development. We need to know, because we're planning how we can support neighbourhood communities next year, and how much that work will involve. At present, we've been told about 5 or 6 parishes across the district who would like to begin this process. 3 of those have already made bids that we've supported for funding. We haven't heard an outcome of that yet. We expect to very shortly. And that will hopefully be front runners to help other communities understand more about the process. It's really quite interesting and exciting because it's the first time it's ever been done. And there's not many examples anywhere else in the country yet about how it's moving forward. So we'd like to help work with those councils locally to get to understand what it might be about. So it's quite... so the reminder is to think about this, tell us what you plan to do, but also be aware that the council is already planning to undertake detailed planning work next year. We've got a core strategy in place. We are about to... we're going to consult ourselves on site-specific planning matters, as Councillor Rook said, during the course of this year. So you don't have to do neighbourhood planning. And we are intending to work very much with the spirit of localism, with local communities, to identify what they want and seek to deliver it. So we can do the work, but at the end of the decision-making process, that we would make a decision as a council, hopefully with your consent. So you can do it, or we will do it, but we need to know who's going to, is the basic issue. We're going to be asking, generally, in the next few weeks, we're going to be doing a call for site information about what land we might allocate for development. We've already asked house builders and landowners, and people who want to promote business development. We've asked the development sector. We're going to throw that open wider. So if there are parcels of land that you identify that you think are not being used effectively, you can use the development plan process to allocate and promote for development. We're going to be doing that. And we're also planning, this is the third bullet point, to encourage local councils to tell us where we have existing limits to developments. Now, selected parishes have limits to development. We want to know from you if they are correct or not. Sometimes there's a bit local contention about whether the actual boundaries are right or wrong, but we like to be notified from you about whether there needs to be any adjustments. Not to take major developments, that's a different question, but to be an accurate boundary of your settlement. And secondly, to understand which open spaces you value within your settlement. The local plan already defines important open land, but we would like to approach a technique of asking you in the local communities to redefine the areas you value. Therefore, this is an approach which very much then recognises locally important open space. I could send planning officers around the district to survey open spaces, but I haven't got the money to do that, and we haven't got the time to do that. So it's very much a question of responding now to what local people want, and addressing and reviewing those allocations accordingly. So we'll be asking that, we'll be putting out that call and communicating with you on that particular issue in about a month's time. So the two things then, neighbourhood plans, responding to us about, and also information about sites and development boundaries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Good. Okay, we'll just make a note of your questions and we'll move on, if we may. Kamal, are you up next? And this is a report back from the workshop that we had in December. Some of you who were here for this. And then keep a note of any queries and we'll deal with these later. Right, okay, well, rethink, you see, you're always wrong, aren't you? Steve has to go. And I must say, Steve, I'll say this in public now, you did a fantastic job on the LDF, you and your team, and we're very grateful that we're where we are with that by your efforts. But if there are any questions on planning that you want to ask, whilst we've got the expert, because he has to go, I'll take them now. Does anybody wish to ask any questions on what Steve Pointer was talking about just a moment ago? Yes, sir. Steve, would you like to come over?
I don't see what...
People need to hear you.
I don't see what advantage there'd be in asking parish councils to determine planning applications, because we're going to be working from the same textbook as the district council. So we can't say, no, we don't want that, if it fits in all the criteria, which is the same answer that we'd get if your team were doing it. So what's the advantage?
Well, I'll just clarify, we're not asking you to determine planning applications. That is not a power that's ever going to be available, I think, at this present moment to parish council. What the government is saying is that you have the opportunity to make local planning policy for your parishes at a detailed level.
But we couldn't say, no, we don't want a building development on that plot if it fits in with everything, all the other criteria.
Well, that's partly true in that obviously if the evidence is pointing to a local housing need and there is an appropriate site, and on the evidence it is the best site chosen out of different options that you might have available, then obviously that is the right place for development, and it would be wrong to perhaps say anything else. But it allows you to go through a process. We have a site. We've developed a site assessment process here, which we're going to test out alternative sites and provide any parish with the results of that, so you can benefit from the technical work that we've done. But basically, given all the evidence, you can make that final decision based on the evidence that's given. So basically it takes the power out of the district council's hands to otherwise make that decision and put it in local communities' hands.
But we wouldn't have the power of veto. We couldn't say, we couldn't go against the district council, sure.
On this one, so long as it's in the compliant with the core strategy, and actually we've made our rural housing policy quite flexible. We don't specify individual numbers for rural communities. I'm hoping that local people can get together and talk about how much housing they would like to accommodate, and then we have a bottom-up approach to the total. I have to say, strategically, we only need to plan for 500 houses across the rural areas of the district to 2028. It isn't a lot, really, but I'm hoping that the evidence is there's land available, there's plenty of people who want to build those houses, and it's a question of working out with local people how much is acceptable.
Okay.
Why are we looking at open spaces again? You've only just got a document through days ago saying that there, what were the important open spaces in the district anyway.
There's two things we've done. We've reviewed green wedges and areas of separation between settlements, major bits of green space. But what areas of important open land is, on our local plan proposals maps, it identifies small pockets of open spaces within the settlements, not between them, but within them. So it's a very local designation.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Just give you a general
Yes.
one with planning. It's not really to do with what you're just talking about, but we're concerned over the number of retrospective planning that is now starting to come through. And we don't know whether this is because there's not the same officers on board or whatever in planning. But we seem to be getting more people who are doing things and then going for planning permission. And wondered if this just needs tightening up a bit.
Well, I can't speak directly for sort of enforcement and compliance, but I think the team has actually improved their record in recent years, and I hope that would prevent unauthorised developments and retrospective applications. But I haven't got the figures to back them up.
No, I just come in. I'll check on that and follow it up. That concerns me. Enforcement is one of our priorities that we've had for a number of years, and they have been working very well through it, but I'm disappointed to hear you say that. There was a query over there.
Yes. If the parish council decided that it didn't want to be involved in the neighbourhood planning process, would it be possible for other groups within that parish to decide they wanted to get together and themselves take on that mantle? Would that be possible?
The answer is no, because there's a presumption that within a rural area, the parish council is the appropriate representative body. Whilst that can happen within unparished areas like Market Harborough, the default position is it should come through the parish council, I believe.
I'll take one more question and then make a comment. Anybody got another question? Okay, now my comment is this, that as a councillor, I go around and this subject comes up in my parishes, I'm always a bit concerned that parish neighbourhood plans don't set neighbour against neighbour. And that is something I think that we've all got to think about when we're doing this, because it's all very well to talk about bottom up, but you are very close to it, and we all know what it's like when you have to go and tell a neighbour to stop his dog making a mess on the pavement or chop his trees down. It's extremely difficult at your level. It's raw democracy, and we want to try and make sure that this does work. So just think on that. Okay, we'll go on to Kamal now. Thank you very much indeed, Steve.
Thank you, Councillor. With regard to the new homes bonus, I'm just going to give you a feedback. There are papers in your packs already. The first one I'd like to draw your attention to really is the draft minutes of the Council of the 16th of January. They are draft minutes and they shall remain so until Council approved them formally on the 23rd of February. So that's why they're draft. The report was submitted to the Executive following the event on the 12th of December where parish councils and the Market Harborough Civic Society and Harbour Improvement Team were invited to participate in a consultation exercise on the new proposed policy for the new homes bonus. The results in summary format are attached to the papers which were put forward to the Executive when they were making the decision. The scrutiny panel resources development also looked at the proposed policy for the new homes bonus and put their comments through to the Executive, and they were not dissimilar from the consultation exercise. That's why I've not produced them here separately. Effectively, the decision made by the Council is that overwhelmingly from the consultation exercise and from the scrutiny review of it, the policy option C was the one that was preferred by the majority. And there was a concern as to how the split between, in policy option C, the split between the district-wide fund and the locality fund would be set. And on the basis that there were divergence of views on that, the Executive recommended to Council, and it was approved by Council, that the Council should decide on the split on an annual basis, taking into account all of the Council's own financial situation into account, and on the basis of the advice given to the executive and council by the council's statutory finance officer. And on that basis, the decisions were made, and that's the policy that's going to be, has been approved, will be formally adopted in terms of the minutes by the council on the 23rd of February, and that will come into operation from 2012-13. So on the council's behalf, and particularly for the author of the report, myself, that put forward the policy options to the council, to the executive, I'd like to thank everybody who took part in that consultation exercise. It was very useful. It did bring out quite a lot of different views and food for thought for the executive before they finally made their decision. So that's really all I needed to bring to your attention, that consultation exercise has resulted in that in the decision now in front of you by the council. Just whilst I'm ahead on my time, just very quickly, on each of the tables I've put down the list of council tax bases for each of the parishes. This is something that I need to let you know what the tax base for your parish is. The total, which is 33,071 for the whole of the district for 2012-13, is what we will use to arrive at the average Band D council tax. But since the council has already on the path to setting a 0% increase in council tax, it should be the same as this year's, 2011-12. So all I needed to do is just bring to your attention what your tax bases are for individual areas. Now, if any of the councils or all the councils who actually set a precept divide the precept into the tax base for their area, for their parish area, that should give you the average Band D council tax for your precept. That's why it's been provided today. It just gives you an idea of what will appear on the bill for a Band D equivalent property in your areas for your precept only. Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Just hold on. As we've started this, if there are any questions whilst we've got them on, I'll take questions now. Complicated.
Well, maybe have some more copies if that's shared.
We will provide you some.
Sure. Thank you.
Got any spares on this?
Okay. Yes. Yes, sir.
New homes bonus. In the good old days, we used to have something called Section 106, where if somebody developed something in your community, there was a feedback of funding into the community. My understanding of the new homes bonus is that it will go some way towards the same aims as Section 106. And is there any chance that there will be some feedback from the new homes bonus back into the community where the actual development is being carried out?
Yes. In terms of the policy that was adopted by the council, it does allow for that. In policy, on the papers that I've given you, the second sheet on the papers shows you the policy, which is option C, which shows that the new homes bonus will be split between a locality investment fund and a district-wide investment fund. And the locality investment fund will actually be the fund which would be able to be drawn upon by those communities that have actually had the impact of the development directly.
Will it be inviolable? I mean, the Section 106 was such a woolly development in the past. Is this new homes bonus going to be fixed onto that community, that part of it?
It will be on the basis of the identified need by the community. As it says, that a locality investment fund to be used on community budgets arrangements in those areas that have had their housing growth. The areas may be a whole community, or part of a community, or a community comprising a large area clusters. A process for identifying how the money would be used would need to be drawn up, but it should be on the basis of clearly identified and articulated need and not on pet projects of the few. So that is what the council has actually approved as part of the policy.
Can I just add, I envisage that areas will put in bids for the money depending on the position on the new homes bonus. The new homes bonus is predicated on the number of houses in 1 year that came onto the council tax base against the new year between the 2 years. And so we will need to set up the administration to see how those houses and where they are, and then the areas will put in bids for the money which is coming down the line. But it is not new money, I have to say to you. It is not new money. It's been shaved off the funding that the government would otherwise had given us.
Could you say something about SIL?
This is a problem. Yes. Also, 106 will continue until 2014. So 106s are still being negotiated where development is, but then they will cease. And we will have also what is known as the Community Infrastructure Levy, which is a set sum up front from the developer, which will go towards infrastructure, roads and so on for an area. So there's different streams of funding, and this is what I meant in my opening remarks about the localism of taxation, how it's being changed. And of course, we need to put the houses on the ground if we're going to tap into these monies. And the problem for instance, the council this year is that we have received £507,000 from new homes bonus, but we've lost £588,000 from the government. So I'm sorry, chaps, there isn't anything coming down this year because we need to make sure that we can close that gap, and we've still got 350, 400,000 to find out of the transformation because of the way in which the budget's gone. So it's tough, but what we're saying is that this policy will enable us, as we put more houses on the ground and as we move forward, to look at what we can afford to put into the localism pot through new homes bonus. And that is sacrosanct, and that will happen as we move forward. But if the government suddenly withdrew all our funding, then we would have to think and look again. So it's a flexible policy. It's one that we feel will be able to be worked depending on how the economics of each year will work.
Can I just give a point of clarification of what Councillor Rowe said? And it's absolutely right that giving planning permission will not actually bring in the new homes bonus. It's when the houses are built and they actually get occupied and onto the council tax list for charging, that's when it will actually kick in. So if there could be a delay, the planning permission could be three years before the actual property comes on and becomes occupied. So, that's why Councillor Rook said that we need a system of capturing how those properties or those planning permissions are actually coming through in terms of actual development and then actual occupation.
Can I just ask you, is that on every property, or is that still with the older 5 properties? What reason kicked in?
The new homes bonus is on every property, and also any empty property which comes back onto the rating list.
Just a quick one.
Okay, one more.
Is the split between the council tax support, locality fund and the district-wide fund a set percentage on each that's going to be the same all the way through? Or is that going to vary, flexible?
In my opinion, that will change, could change, not necessarily, could change annually. And that is why we're going to look at it annually as part of the budget round. Okay, well, thank you very much. Any other questions? We are here to do that. And now I'm going to ask Marina Wellham, our solicitor officer, to talk to you about her take on localism and standards.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Marina Wellham, monitoring officer for the District Council an officer, your monitoring officer as well for the parish councils. And I know I seem to be speaking to you for an awful long time now about the proposed changes to the standards regime brought about by the Localism Act. And I met a lot of you earlier on in the year, along with Peter Maxwell, the chairman of our standards committee, who's in the audience this evening, to tell you about the changes, and we don't know what's happening. Well, we do know what's happening. Well, we sort of know what's happening now. Localism Act came in, as everyone knows, last November, and it set out what the changes to the standards regime are going to be. The implementation date was supposed to be the 1st of April this year. The latest information we have is that the changes will come into effect on the 1st of July, but that is only an indication at the moment, so I'm afraid it's still a case of watch this space. As Anna said, I'll be very to the point this evening and just give a very brief overview of what those changes are and how they're going to affect parish councils. An important point to make is that each local authority will still have a duty to uphold and maintain the highest standards of conduct in public life. So there is still a duty on all of you to do that. The Standard Board is going to be abolished on the 31st of March. There will be no mandatory requirement for a standards committee. The Code of Conduct. There is now going to be a requirement for a Code of Conduct, but it's not a national Code of Conduct. It can be determined locally. And that Code of Conduct will still be based upon the Nolan Principles, the 7 principles of conduct in public life, integrity, honesty, as you all know. As part of that, there will be interest. There will still be a requirement to register interests, what's known as disclosable pecuniary interests, which we don't know what they are yet. We're still awaiting regulations to set out exactly what they are, and also non-disclosable pecuniary interests. So it's going to be very difficult to come up with a new Code of Conduct until we know exactly what they are. Hopefully April we should get the regulations through, but again we have to wait and see. The District Council will also put in place arrangements for dealing with any complaints about potential breaches of the Code of Conduct. So there will still be arrangements in place to deal with those. Again, that's down to each local authority to decide what they should be. The Harborough District Council is currently working with all of the Leicestershire District Council, like I say, from the member arena and within the officer arena, to come up with a joint code of conduct, something that's consistent across the county. I think there is a feeling that that's going to be in everybody's best interest. I mean, hopefully we can achieve that, but it is something we're actively looking at the moment. And also trying to put in place similar arrangements for dealing with breaches of the Code of Conduct. But how does all of that affect you from a parish level? You do have parish councils will have to adopt a Code of Conduct. Now, it is open to each parish to adopt its own Code of Conduct. I think the advice from the district is that it would be sensible for parishes to adopt its principal authority, its district's Code of Conduct. It is a matter for you, but that is, I think, what will be the recommendation coming out of the work that we're doing across the county. Register of interests. As I say, the monitoring officer for the district will remain the monitoring officer for the parishes, and there will still be an obligation on all parish councillors to register interests. That register will have to be maintained and publicised by the monitoring officer, open for inspection, and on the district council's website. And it is recommended that if any parishes have a website, it should be published on their website as well. The arrangements that the district council puts in place will be the arrangements to deal with any complaints, and that includes parish councillors as well as district councillors. However, any recommendations in respect of sanctions, it's only a recommendation to the parish council, so the district council cannot impose any censure or sanction on the parish councillor. That's a matter for the parish council to decide. That is a very whistle-stop tour of the new regime. As I say, just the high-level points. So Peter Maxwell is here, and we're both able to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions on that? Something else that you will be digging into very shortly. Okay? Sure? All right, well, we're doing all right. Thank you very much, Verena. Excellent. They're not long silent, this lot, so you've stunned everybody. I have one other thing that I'm going to bring forward before we take any general questions, and that is that we're honoured to have young Jake Atkinson here tonight, and I'm going to ask him to say a few words. He is the officer recently put in charge of the Parish Councils Association. He'll tell you the right title, I think I got it wrong, but a very useful gentleman to know, and I'll give him a couple of moments to put his case. Thanks, Jake.
Thank you. I won't add too much to what's already been a really packed evening of information. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Jake Atkinson. I'm the new Chief Officer of Leicestershire and Rutland Association of Local Councils. I've met many of you already, but there's still many of you that I haven't yet met. So hello to you all. I just wanted to say a few words about our view on parish councils and the coming period, really. 2012 is going to see a period of unprecedented change for parish and town councils. The Localism Act, as we've heard, gives a whole raft of new powers and duties to parish and town councils. Wholesale change of the planning framework, including the new neighbourhood planning system, is going to be something that we've all got to get our heads around. The general power of competence will allow parish and town councils to innovate and do things that they've never done before. New powers around community right to challenge and community right to buy will come into existence. Some of this won't be appropriate for your council, whether that's due to the size of your council or the other issues that you're dealing with. Some of it will. And what we exist to do as an association, and not everybody in the room, I think, is members, about 97% of you are, but there's one or two who aren't, so if you're one of those councils who aren't members and you want to talk to me about that, then please do. But what we're here to do is support you through this process of change, and we do that by working with the principal authorities such as Harborough and the County Council, and also by working with the National Association of Local Councils and providing you with the information that you need. And we've also got our core services that we provide, such as training and development, advice, a legal query service, and other events as well. One event that we've got coming up across the county is a series of planning roadshows where we'll be touching on neighbourhood plans. We'll be clarifying some of the points that have already been touched upon this evening. The nearest one to you is in Harborough. You should already have had the information through. These are joint events with the Campaign for the Protection of Rural Living. So that's just an overview very quickly. I know you've had a full evening, so I won't say much more of what we do. I'm very much appreciative of the opportunity to come tonight and speak to you all, and I look forward to getting to know you all individually. Cheers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jake. Very good, and thank you for the councillor who suggested that we got him on. Who was Rosita. Okay, so are there any questions from the floor? I'll ask our Chief Executive to come up here with me, and if there are any questions of a general nature or anything that you'd like to put on the table, please do so now. Yes?
On a subject which hasn't been mentioned tonight, but which has frequently been mentioned in previous meetings such as this, can you just update us a bit on how the waste collection service is working?
Yes, I can ask the officer concerned to come forward, Matt Bradford, and he can say a few words to us. Good question. Any more like that, and we could be here for some time.
Thank you for that question. We obviously at the moment operate a curbside system throughout the district that is very successful, enables us to achieve quite high rates of recycling and composting. Our waste strategy that we produced at the end of last year suggested that we could achieve even higher results if we look to investigate the opportunities to go a co-mingling system of collection, and that's something that we are looking at the present time. We haven't reached any conclusions with regard to that piece of work yet, as it is business case is yet to be proven. The evidence that we have done so far suggests that the most successful authorities do adopt a code rule system or something of that sort, a hybrid of that to collect their money. So it is something that's very live and on our work programme at the minute, and we should be able to give you a full update with some concrete answers within the next few months.
Can I just add to that, because I would rather controversially like to take this opportunity of saying to you I am extremely concerned and a little disappointed at the way in which the food waste collections have gone down. We're not getting the buy-in that we did have, and I think we have to put that on the table as a concern. Because, like all these things, if you don't use it, you lose it. And to me, food waste and the removal of climate change gases from our system is absolutely vital. And I'm so disappointed that some people seem incapable of putting food waste in a caddy and will insist on putting it into a black bin that then goes in the ground. It seems absolutely crazy to me, and I don't care who I say that to. So all I'm saying to you is that let it not be a shock that you've heard it here. We're not happy with the way it's gone. We started off very well. Perhaps the original plans of the way we had that set up gave us a false picture. I don't think they did. We did it for well over a year in 2 areas, and I would have thought we should have been achieving 70-75% collection rates, and we're very much down on that, and that is costing us money. And as you know, I am looking with officers at every opportunity to save money, not cost ourselves money. So anything you can do in your localities to get people to use the system would be very much appreciated. We will have to look at where we're going with this coming year. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Does the new localism bill mean that Harborough District Council Planning Department will take more notice of the parish councils as and when each planning application comes up? Because in our experience they haven't done so very much in the last year or two.
Jeanette, would you like to? It's a planning portfolio member. I'll do it with pleasure, but if you'd like to think about that for a moment.
No, I would like to think that anything that comes from the parish councils will be taken on board. But I certainly do know that there is a need for us to be working very much together to make sure that the parish councils are putting forward comments that actually are definitely planning grounds. And we do have some difficulties sometimes, and I'm not sort of saying to your council, and certainly when individuals write it, that sometimes it's almost saying we don't want the houses here because we don't like them, whereas we have got to have some very clear planning reasons why we can refuse any applications that come forward. It has been the case previously. It's been said very much more clearly in the new, well, the draft framework, that all planning applications come in with the idea that they will actually be approved unless there are any reasons why you can't. And that, if anything, in the draft framework is made that even more clear. So what we're looking for really from Parish Council is, yes, we want your comments coming in, but we do have to be realistic. They have to be planning grounds and not, you know, we don't like the look of that colour, or we don't like the size of the development. It's got to be really clear planning grounds.
Yes, do we have another one here? Thank you. Yes.
Just on the back of that, really, I know that with the election year last year, leading up to that, every year there's sort of been a refresher training on planning matters for parish councils. Last year it was sort of said they'd hold it off from May because of the elections, and I don't know whether it's with everything else that's going on, but it'd be quite nice if we could maybe get that arranged as a bit of a refresher, especially if there are a lot of new parish councillors from 2011.
Yes, good point, Hannah. Verena.
Yes, I mean, certainly I think that, sorry, I'll pick that up with Adrian Eastwood. I think he normally arranges the updated training on planning, so more than happy to pick that up with him. And whilst I'm on my feet, I think a lady earlier mentioned the involvement of the Parish Council. The Parish Council didn't want to become involved in the neighbourhood planning, that was it. There was an opportunity for another group to be involved. I think that was the intention of the legislation, but a colleague and I went on another seminar on this on Friday, and I think it's a grey area. There may be, and I've just said there may be an opportunity for another community group that fulfills the criteria for a community group to get involved if the parish council doesn't. Now that isn't definite, but there is seems to be some thought that there may be an opportunity for another group to get involved. But it's unclear at the moment. I think so much, to be honest, is quite unclear at the moment. But I just thought I'd mention that as it had been raised.
Yes, thank you, Verena. Okay, can we take another question? Anybody else got anything else to ask us whilst we're here? Yes.
I'm sure you will probably be on a question, but for the new code of conduct training, the last time the new code was introduced, we had some very, very useful sessions with Verena's and her team. That would be very valuable for parish councils as well, particularly if one of the district example and is on the same basis.
Do you want to answer that, Verena? Do you want to come back on that?
Yes, I mean, I think, again, obviously the district council monitoring officer will be monitoring officer for the parishes, and one of the terms of reference for the current standards committee is that it will provide that training, and I can see, irrespective of what arrangements are in place, I can see no reason to particularly change that, and I personally would say it as a role of the monitoring officer to put in place some training on the new code. Obviously, if you adopt your own individual codes, that might be slightly difficult, but we can get around that. But I think if the majority of parishes do adopt the district council's code of conduct, then we're more happy to provide the training.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to call it a wrap. So really, we've had quite a busy evening. A lot of information going the rounds, and as they would say on that wonderful television programme, don't panic, Mr. Mannering, don't panic. The fact is that there is an awful lot still unsure, an awful lot still unclear, and we are working on it, and we will feed it out to you as we get the situations clarified on all these matters. And no doubt we'll be having another briefing session and so on here. So I do welcome you all coming, because this is a great help to us to disseminate what is in a tremendous period of change for you and for us. And I thank you all very much for coming, and have a safe journey home. Thank you.